What if everything we know about our past is only a whisper? Beneath the noise of cities and beyond the thin veil of history, the earth keeps secrets. In ancient stone and shifting oceans, in layers of forgotten time, stories sleep. Welcome to a place where science meets silence, where speculation flows like water, and the dust of deep time might still hold echoes of civilizations we never remember us. You're not just
our
watching,
atoms, not just the weight of our
you're
bodies
wondering.
in space, but the quieter things,
You're drifting
the
into
breathless
the
moments
slow
of awe,
rhythm of
the thoughts
Earth's
we never
memory.
spoke aloud, the wishes
This
made in
is-
silence while staring at the sky.
What if there was a civilization
We often
before
imagine the
history
universe
began?
as a
vast, indifferent
Calm
machine.
your
thoughts.
cold,
The story is just
expanding,
empty. But what if that story is incomplete? What if, instead of emptiness, there is presence? Instead of silence, a kind of listening?
Across the great sea of night, stars are born, live briefly in terms the cosmos barely registers, and die in spectacular quiet.
We know this.
We've mapped it in hydrogen trails, in isotopic fingerprints, in the bones of dead galaxies.
But there's something else, something not measured in mass or speed or chemical decay. There is pattern. There is memory. Perhaps not the way we understand memory, no clear timeline, no tidy journal of events, but something older. Stranger. A kind of remembering that takes eons to speak a single word. Maybe it begins in dust.
The same dust that clings to the rings of Saturn once drifted freely between stars.
The same dust that settled into Earth's oceans, into the crust of continents, into your lungs, into mine. This dust isn't just debris.
It's history, compressed, scattered, and rewritten with every supernova, every collision, every breath we take.
What if dust is the language the universe speaks in?
A slow, granular vocabulary of presence. A way of keeping track, not of events, but of essence.
We are told that time began with a bang. That from nothing came everything, rushing outward in a storm of light and heat. But what if that story, too, is only a beginning? What if time, real time, didn't begin until the first pause, until something cooled enough to listen? Because perhaps that's what memory requires. Not just experience, but stillness. The kind of stillness that lets the imprint of a moment settle.
On Earth, we find fossils only where conditions allowed them to rest undisturbed, buried, shielded, preserved by time's slow hand.
Could the universe be doing the same on a scale we're only beginning to imagine? Look to the microwave background, the quiet afterglow of creation itself. It's not loud. It's not urgent. But it lingers. A subtle hum beneath all things.
A whisper of where everything came from.
If we listen closely, we hear temperature differences smaller than a breath, scattered across the sky. They seem random. But randomness can be deceptive.
Sometimes, what looks like noise becomes a pattern if you wait long enough.
Could those fluctuations be memories? Could that glow be the cosmos remembering its own beginning, not in language, but in light? And what of us? We live such brief lives. 100 years, if we're lucky. A flicker. A blink. But we spend so much of that time wondering. Searching. Asking questions that have no answers, or worse, answers that lead only to more questions. Could that, too, be a kind of memory? A reflex inherited from the stars, an instinct not to forget? The human mind forgets nearly everything. Faces. Names. Dates. But it remembers how things felt. The chill before a thunderstorm. The hush of snow at midnight.
The ache of standing alone beneath the stars and wondering if something, anything, is listening.
That ache is ancient. It's the echo of those first atoms organizing themselves into structure. into life, into awareness. Maybe not because they were meant to. Maybe not because of a plan. But because that's what the universe does. It organizes, then forgets, then organizes again. A long breath in. A long breath out. Even our bodies are memory made flesh.
The calcium in our bones was formed in the heart of stars. The iron in our blood, the oxygen in our lungs, none of it began on Earth.
And none of it will stay here forever. We are borrowed material, temporarily gathered into the shape of a person. A person who dreams and wonders and eventually dissolves. But maybe, in some soft, cosmic way, that wondering leaves a mark. Not a monument. Not a signal sent into space. Just a ripple in a sea of silence. And the universe, quiet, patient, ancient, holds on to that ripple the way Earth holds on to fossils. The way rocks remember rivers that no longer flow. The way deep ocean trenches remember continents that used to exist. What if the act of wondering itself is a kind of permanence? A way of being known, even after we are gone? And if that's true, then maybe we're not as alone as we feel. Because if the universe remembers, if dust holds story, if silence is a form of listening, then perhaps we're already part of something vaster than memory.
Something that doesn't need words or monuments or even survival to mean something.
And yet, if the universe remembers us, what else might it be holding on to? Dust before dawn. And yet, if the universe remembers us, what else might it be holding on to? Perhaps the answer drifts in the dust. Not the kind that gathers in forgotten corners of rooms, but the ancient dust that formed long before the idea of a room ever existed. Dust that floated freely through the early cosmos, before there were planets, before there were stars, before there was even light. This dust is old. Older than time as we know it. Made of shattered beginnings, bits of hydrogen, lithium, carbon fused and broken, again and again, in stellar hearts that came and went in silence. Some of this dust settled into rings, into atmospheres, into oceans that never formed. Some of it drifted into earth, nestled into canyons, folded into limestone, breathed in by creatures long gone. Some of it became you. Some of it became me. And yet, most of it is still out there. It doesn't glow. It doesn't pulse. But it moves. Quietly. Slowly. In streams and spirals invisible to the eye but etched in the background of everything. Maybe dust is more than matter. Maybe it's memory undone. Matter that remembers its shapes but forgets its purpose. Like bones without bodies. Like sentences without meaning, still haunting, somehow, just by being there. And what of the dust here, on Earth? The ground beneath our feet holds more than dirt. It holds the ashes of forests that burned before language, the shattered shells of sea creatures that lived and died in ancient tides, the volcanic breath of a planet trying to become itself. Every layer is a page. Every grain, a word. Geologists know this. They trace epochs in the thickness of silt, in the color of clay, in the pressure of stone. They read time the way astronomers read light, looking not for clarity, but for clues. And still, so much is missing. So many gaps. So many layers lost to erosion, to tectonic drift, to water folding continents back into the sea. Entire chapters of Earth's story washed away, and yet we keep listening. Keep asking. Keep brushing dust off bone and calling it truth. Because dust isn't just a remnant. It's a beginning. The stars that rise now will one day fall. And what remains of them will become the dust of something new. That cycle of becoming, of breaking, of becoming again might be the closest thing the universe has to memory. And maybe, the closest thing we have to meaning. Because if dust can become thought, then perhaps thought, too, can become dust again. The shape of time. If dust can remember, then perhaps time is not what we think it is. We often picture time as a straight road, a path that stretches forward, always ahead, always away. But out here, beneath galaxies and within atoms, time curves. It folds. It bends under gravity, slows near black holes, skips across quantum gaps. It's not a line. It's a shape. And maybe, it's alive.
The rocks beneath our feet don't feel rushed.
They move in cycles longer than memory. Mountains rise and fall. Oceans open and close. Time, to them, is more of a rhythm than a clock. Could it be that the Earth tells time not in seconds or centuries, but in patterns? The fossil record doesn't tick. It pulses. Life blooms in bursts, then vanishes. Evolution doesn't march, it waits, it hesitates, then surges when no one's watching. As if time itself takes a breath, then exhales everything. And maybe our sense of time is simply too fast. We measure days and years, but the planet thinks in millions. In the slow drift of continents. In the cool build of pressure. In the long memory of ice.
There are places deep in caves, under glaciers, at the bottom of ancient lakes, where time has almost stopped.
Where echoes stay intact for tens of thousands of years. Where the air itself feels heavier, older, as if it knows something we don't. Could it be that time is a loop, not a line? That the universe replays itself, not in exact replicas, but in recurring themes. Civilizations rise. They fall. Ideas are discovered, lost, rediscovered. Fossils of tools. Fossils of thought. Fossils of questions asked too soon. And maybe, time doesn't pass us by.
Maybe we pass through time, leaving behind not just footprints, but impressions, emotional, energetic, invisible to the eye but real, all the same.
If time has shape, then it might have memory. And if it has memory, then it might remember us. Erosion on a galactic scale. And if time remembers, what does it forget? Everything erodes. Not just rocks. Not just coastlines. Even galaxies fade. Even stars unravel. On Earth, erosion is the quiet force that rewrites landscapes. Wind carves stone into sculpture. Water slices canyons into continents. Ice reshapes mountains with glacial patience. And yet, we rarely notice. Because erosion isn't violent. It's tender. It takes time. It takes everything. And maybe erosion doesn't stop at Earth. Galaxies collide. Stars lose their grip. Dark matter drifts between clusters, reshaping the invisible scaffolding of space. Could the universe itself be wearing away? Scientists study background radiation, the leftover light from the Big Bang, not to see what's there, but what's missing. Holes in the glow. Gaps in the fabric. Like old paint flaking off a wall that no one remembers painting. Could it be that space is not growing, but thinning? That entropy, the tendency of systems to decay, is not just a law, but a story? One told slowly, across billions of years, in tones too deep for us to hear. Our own solar system is fraying. The sun will die. The planets will scatter. Even the moon is drifting, inch by inch, away from Earth. And with it, tides, rhythms, migrations. Quiet relationships undone. And yet, it's beautiful. Because erosion doesn't just destroy. It reveals. It strips away what hides. It exposes fossil beds. It uncovers time. It reminds us that loss can be generous. What if the universe, in its unraveling, is not ending but becoming something new? What if decay is not forgetting, but transformation? The fossils of stars. And if transformation is the true memory of the universe, then what has it become? Perhaps the most ancient memory of all is hidden in starlight. When a star dies, it doesn't simply go out. It leaves behind fossils. Not of bone or shell, but of light. Of gravity. Of metal. Supernova remnants. Neutron stars. White dwarfs cooling like embers under a darkening sky. These are not corpses. They are relics. Reminders of what once burned. Astronomers read these fossils with instruments that see beyond visible light.
They trace the iron forged in stellar hearts, the carbon scattered in explosions, the ghostly neutrinos that pass through entire planets without slowing.
These are not theories. These are trails, real, measurable, ancient. But even these remnants change. A white dwarf will cool for trillions of years until it becomes black, cold, invisible, dead to all detection. And then what? Does it still remember being a star? Does it still hum, deep down, with some memory of light? And if stars leave fossils, what about their systems? Could a planet orbiting a dead star still carry a story? Could there be ancient worlds out there, frozen in dark, holding echoes of civilizations that never knew light would one day vanish? We search the universe for exoplanets not just to find life, but to find memory. Atmospheres with traces of oxygen. Surfaces scarred by water. Magnetism hinting at a once-living core. These, too, are fossils. Just slower. Just quieter. Because the cosmos doesn't bury its dead. It drifts with them. And maybe we're part of that drift, star fossils walking, wondering, trying to remember what we once were. Silence isn't empty. And maybe we're part of that drift, star fossils walking, wondering, trying to remember what we once were. And in all that wondering, in all that reaching, one question returns again and again. Why is it so quiet? We scan the skies for signals, for messages, for evidence that we are not alone. We listen with vast arrays of metal ears tuned to the softest whisper in space. But mostly, we hear silence. And yet, silence is not the same as nothing. Silence is the space between waves. The breath between words. The pause before knowing. In the vacuum between stars, there are no birdsong mornings or ocean-sighing evenings. But there is radiation. There is rhythm. There is gravity bending time itself into slow spirals. Perhaps silence is not absence, but restraint. The quiet of the universe might be the quiet of deep listening. A patience we can't yet understand. A kind of attention that doesn't rush to speak. That waits, and watches, and remembers. Even on Earth, silence isn't empty. In caves, in trenches, beneath glaciers, life moves in hushed systems, chemical, bacterial, geothermal. The loudest events, volcanoes, storms, tectonic shifts, are rare. Most of the time, Earth breathes in silence. Could it be that the cosmos breathes the same way? That what we call a quiet universe is not sleeping, not dead, but dreaming? And if it's dreaming, then what of us? Are we part of its thought? Its memory? Its endless, looping curiosity? Because the silence, however vast, is never complete. There are anomalies. Patterns. Flickers of symmetry in the noise. Echoes in the dark. And each one pulls us deeper into a question we can't stop asking. What does it mean that we are here, listening? And if we are listening, could something else be listening, too? Clocks made of carbon. If silence is listening, then maybe we are how the universe tells time. Not with ticking seconds, but with us organisms made of stardust and curiosity, slowly awakening to the clockwork of everything. Our bodies are made of carbon. But carbon is more than a building block. It is a storyteller. Trapped inside every carbon atom are the remnants of stars and supernovae, of volcanoes and forests in fire.
When something dies, plant, animal, civilization, carbon remains.
And when enough time passes,
that carbon can be read like a clock.
A record of decay. A timestamp of presence. We call it radiocarbon dating. But it's more than a technique. It's a quiet miracle.
The fact that time leaves fingerprints at all, that atoms remember how long they've been here, is astonishing.
We use these clocks to look backward. To count the rings of trees that lived through centuries. To date bones found deep in loam. To measure the memory of air trapped in ice for 500,000 years. And maybe Earth itself is one great memory machine. Pressing layers into sediment. Pressing time into matter. A living archive beneath our feet. But what if we are the clocks, too? Our minds track time by rhythm, by breath, by heartbeat, by the return of the sun. But those rhythms are subjective. Malleable.
A moment of awe can stretch for hours. A year of grief can vanish in a blink.
Time is elastic. And carbon, too, is elastic.
It forms everything: coal and diamond, life and decay.
It can be hard as crystal, or soft as ash. It lasts. So perhaps the story of time isn't told by clocks on walls or in satellites. Perhaps it's told in the bones of whales buried under sand. In the char of campfires left by forgotten people. In us.
And what a strange kind of clock we are, measuring not just minutes, but meaning.
Tracking not just when, but why. And if time can be told in carbon, then what else might be speaking? Planets with no names. And if carbon can speak, perhaps the forgotten can speak too.
Out beyond the glare of our sun, there are planets that no one has ever named.
Worlds that orbit quietly in the dark, untouched by light, unseen by telescopes. Planets not lost, but never found. Thousands have been catalogued. Thousands more suspected.
And beyond that, millions, maybe billions, scattered like seeds in a wind we can't feel.
Some of these planets are gas giants, wreathed in storms. Some are rocky, scarred by ancient impacts. Some may carry oceans beneath ice. Some may have once bloomed with green and sound and sky. But now they sleep. And still, they drift. Holding whatever story they once had inside them. Could these planets be graves of forgotten life? Or museums of evolution that never completed its arc? Could entire civilizations have risen, wondered, built, loved, and disappeared without ever once being seen? Because not all stories survive. Some are buried too deep. Some are swallowed by erosion, or folded under tectonic plates, or carried by winds until they become dust. But stories leave traces. Isotope anomalies. Magnetic oddities. Chemical ratios that whisper, something happened here. Someone was here. We call these technosignatures hypothetical echoes of intelligence long gone. Maybe cities built of stone or metal, now collapsed. Maybe satellites still circling, now silent.
Or maybe, just the gentle imbalance in an atmosphere that should have been still.
The universe is wide.
And its memory may be hidden in places that never had names, never had visitors, never had a chance.
And yet, they remain. Waiting. Not to be found. But simply to be remembered. The gravity of memory. If memory is held by carbon and hidden in planets, perhaps gravity, too, remembers. Gravity binds everything. It pulls stars into galaxies. It holds moons to planets. It tethers light to spacetime. But gravity also shapes history.
Where there is gravity, there is gathering.
Dust becomes planets. Pressure becomes heat. Heat becomes life. And where gravity weakens, things drift apart. Continents break. Orbits slip. Oceans vanish. Maybe memory works the same way. When memories cluster, they form stories. Meaning. Identity. But when forgotten, they float disconnected, silent, unreachable. And sometimes, they fall into black holes. Black holes, places where gravity is so intense, even light cannot escape. But they are not just destroyers. They are archives. What if black holes remember everything they consume? Every photon. Every whisper of matter. Every idea. Every question. What if inside that event horizon, memory is not lost, but restructured, flattened into something beyond comprehension?
The theory of information paradox suggests that the data is still there, just transformed.
Pressed into the very skin of the black hole. So maybe gravity doesn't erase. Maybe it encodes. And if so, could the same be true for us? Are the places where we gather, the cities, the forests, the oceans, shaped not just by gravity, but by shared memory? Could gravity be emotional? Could it pull us toward the places where stories once lived? And if gravity holds memory, what happens when we let go? Civilization in the ashes. And when we let go, what's left behind? Civilizations end. They always have. Sometimes in fire. Sometimes in ice. Sometimes in silence so complete, the ruins forget they were ever touched. We look to Mesopotamia, to the Indus Valley, to the forests of the Maya, and wonder what happened. Why did they vanish? But maybe disappearance isn't the whole story. Maybe civilization leaves something behind, even when the buildings fall. A layer in the soil. A spike of carbon. A line of isotopes no volcano could explain. The Earth's crust holds evidence of 5 great extinctions. Sudden disappearances. Shifts in atmosphere. A chemical memory of upheaval. But some scientists ask, could one of those layers be ours? Could we be the next technofossil? Imagine a geologist 100 million years from now. They find plastic polymers compressed into stone. Concrete stratified like sediment. Radioactive isotopes marking the age like a glowing timestamp. They might not find our names. But they'd know someone was here. Someone changed the Earth. And then, someone was gone. And maybe this has happened before. What if we are not the first civilization on Earth? What if another rose, long before us, erased not by failure, but by time? It's speculation. Yes. But speculation guided by science. Because the crust does not lie. It may forget details, but not changes. And change is written everywhere. In the CO2 levels that spike. In the erosion patterns that don't match climate. In the metals that don't belong in soil. Maybe civilization always leaves a trace. Even in ash. Even in forgetting. And if we are the latest echo in a long, looping song of rise and fall, then what echoes have we missed? A universe of echoes. And if we are the latest echo in a long, looping song of rise and fall, then what echoes have we missed? Everywhere we look, there are patterns. Faint imprints on microwave maps. Repeating waves in the fabric of spacetime. Ripples of energy that cross billions of light years, not vanishing, only stretching, softening into whispers. They are not loud. But they are there. The universe, it seems, does not shout. It echoes. Like a canyon returning the sound of your own voice, altered, delayed, but familiar. The echoes of creation still shimmer in the background radiation. A gentle hiss. A faint hum. The sky's memory of its first breath. Physicists measure these echoes not in sound, but in temperature. 1 part in 100,000. Slight warmings and coolings in the cosmic afterglow. Like fingerprints left in the air after the stars first bloomed. But what if these are more than numbers? What if the universe echoes not just energy, but ideas? Could consciousness ripple, too? Could thoughts leave imprints, like songs once sung into stone? Even on Earth, echoes linger in unlikely places. The ice remembers. So does tree bark. Coral rings, glacial cores, sediment layers, they are all memory technologies. Not ones we made. Ones we inherited. And maybe the universe does the same. Not because it needs to, but because it can. And if the universe echoes, then what of us is still echoing, long after we fall silent? When stars forget their names. And if the universe echoes, then what happens when it forgets? Stars are born in clouds, dense, cold, tangled in dust. They light slowly. They warm their surroundings. They become suns. But stars are not forever. Eventually, even the brightest burn out. Some swell into giants. Others collapse. Some flicker for 1,000 years before vanishing altogether. And when they go, their names go with them. Not their scientific names. Not catalog numbers. But their ancient identities. Their mythologies. Their memory of being seen. There are stars out there, billions of them, that no one has ever looked at. No dreams attached. No wishes made. No poems written in their light. They shine anyway. And some stars, once familiar, are now lost. The sky has changed since humans first looked up. Constellations have shifted. Stories have faded. Some stars died long ago, but their light is only just now reaching us. We are watching ghosts. Could these be forgotten ancestors of light? Burned out souls whose final messages are only now arriving? What would a forgotten star say if it could speak? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps the light itself is the message. A soft reminder that presence is enough. That shining, even briefly, even unnoticed, still matters. And if stars forget, and are forgotten, then what else have we let drift into darkness? Oceans in the sky. And if darkness holds the forgotten, could it also hold water? We imagine oceans as earthbound, blue, salty, alive. But water is not unique to Earth. It's scattered across the solar system, hiding in ice caps, drifting in comets, locked in minerals. Europa, a moon of Jupiter, may hold more liquid water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Enceladus vents salty plumes from beneath its frozen crust. Even Mars, dry and red, bears scars that look like riverbeds etched into the dust like memories of flow. Could it be that oceans once sang on other worlds? And if they did, where are their fossils? We find ancient seabeds on Earth trapped beneath deserts, curled in mountains, layered into limestone. Echoes of a sea that spoke in RETR. What if black holes remember everything they consume? Every photon. Every whisper of matter. Every idea. Every question. What if inside that event horizon, memory is not lost, but restructured, flattened into something beyond comprehension? The theory of information paradox suggests that the data is still there, just transformed. Pressed into the very skin of the black hole. So maybe gravity doesn't erase. Maybe it encodes. And if so, could the same be true for us? Are the places where we gather, the cities, the forests, the oceans, shaped not just by gravity, but by shared memory? Could gravity be emotional? Could it pull us toward the places where stories once lived? And if gravity holds memory, what happens when we let go? Civilization in the ashes. And when we let go, what's left behind? Civilizations end. They always have. Sometimes in fire. Sometimes in ice. Sometimes in silence so complete, the ruins forget they were ever touched. We look to Mesopotamia, to the Indus Valley, to the forests of the Maya, and wonder what happened. Why did they vanish? But maybe disappearance isn't the whole story. Maybe civilization leaves something behind, even when the buildings fall. A layer in the soil. A spike of carbon. A line of isotopes no volcano could explain. The Earth's crust holds evidence of 5 great extinctions. Sudden disappearances. Shifts in atmosphere. A chemical memory of upheaval. But some scientists ask, could one of those layers be ours? Could we be the next technofossil? Imagine a geologist 100 million years from now. They find plastic polymers compressed into stone. Concrete stratified like sediment. Radioactive isotopes marking the age like a glowing timestamp. They might not find our names. But they'd know someone was here. Someone changed the Earth. And then, someone was gone. And maybe this has happened before. What if we are not the first civilization on Earth? What if another rose, long before us, erased not by failure, but by time? It's speculation. Yes. But speculation guided by science. Because the crust does not lie. It may forget details, but not changes. And change is written everywhere. In the CO2 levels that spike. In the erosion patterns that don't match climate. In the metals that don't belong in soil. Maybe civilization always leaves a trace. Even in ash. Even in forgetting. And if we are the latest echo in a long, looping song of rise and fall, then what echoes have we missed? A universe of echoes. And if we are the latest echo in a long, looping song of rise and fall, then what echoes have we missed? Everywhere we look, there are patterns. Faint imprints on microwave maps. Repeating waves in the fabric of spacetime. Ripples of energy that cross billions of light years, not vanishing, only stretching, softening into whispers. They are not loud. But they are there. The universe, it seems, does not shout. It echoes. Like a canyon returning the sound of your own voice, altered, delayed, but familiar. The echoes of creation still shimmer in the background radiation. A gentle hiss. A faint hum. The sky's memory of its first breath. Physicists measure these echoes not in sound, but in temperature. 1 part in 100,000. Slight warmings and coolings in the cosmic afterglow. Like fingerprints left in the air after the stars first bloomed. But what if these are more than numbers? What if the universe echoes not just energy, but ideas? Could consciousness ripple, too? Could thoughts leave imprints, like songs once sung into stone? Even on Earth, echoes linger in unlikely places. The ice remembers. So does tree bark. Coral rings, glacial cores, sediment layers, they are all memory technologies. Not ones we made. Ones we inherited. And maybe the universe does the same. Not because it needs to, but because it can. And if the universe echoes, then what of us is still echoing, long after we fall silent? When stars forget their names. And if the universe echoes, then what happens when it forgets? Stars are born in clouds, dense, cold, tangled in dust. They light slowly. They warm their surroundings. They become suns. But stars are not forever. Eventually, even the brightest burn out. Some swell into giants. Others collapse. Some flicker for 1,000 years before vanishing altogether. And when they go, their names go with them. Not their scientific names. Not catalog numbers. but their ancient identities, their mythologies, their memory of being seen.
There are stars out there, billions of them, that no one has ever looked at.
No dreams attached. No wishes made. No poems written in their light. They shine anyway. And some stars, once familiar, are now lost. The sky has changed since humans first looked up. Constellations have shifted. Stories have faded. Some stars died long ago, but their light is only just now reaching us. We are watching ghosts. Could these be forgotten ancestors of light? Burned out souls whose final messages are only now arriving? What would a forgotten star say if it could speak? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps the light itself is the message. A soft reminder that presence is enough.
That shining, even briefly, even unnoticed, still matters.
And if stars forget and are forgotten, then what else have we let drift into darkness? Oceans in the sky. And if darkness holds the forgotten, could it also hold water? We imagine oceans as earthbound, blue, salty, alive. But water is not unique to Earth. It's scattered across the solar system, hiding in ice caps, drifting in comets, locked in minerals. Europa, a moon of Jupiter, may hold more liquid water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Enceladus vents salty plumes from beneath its frozen crust. Even Mars, dry and red, bears scars that look like riverbeds etched into the dust like memories of flow. Could it be that oceans once sang on other worlds? And if they did, where are their fossils? We find ancient seabeds on Earth, trapped beneath deserts, curled in mountains, layered into limestone. Echoes of a sea that spoke and retreated, leaving shells behind. Could exoplanets carry the same scars? Could moons orbiting faraway stars still remember tides? Still cradle microbial relics, frozen in silence? Water moves. It erodes. It carves. It listens. And maybe it also remembers. The sound of waves, the rhythm of rain, the heartbeat of tides pulled by moons, it's all part of Earth's oldest language. And maybe other worlds spoke it, too. Spoke it, and forgot. Entropy's slow song. And if oceans forget, then what doesn't? Entropy. It is the great law of forgetting. The slow unraveling of order into possibility. The reason hot things cool, structures fall, signals fade. Entropy doesn't destroy. It redistributes. It takes clarity and turns it into chaos. It takes symphonies and scatters them into static. And still, it sings. A soft, ceaseless lullaby. You can hear it in decaying orbitals. In radioactive drift. In the hiss of white noise that fills the gaps between stations. Everything moves toward disorder. Not because it must, but because it can. And yet, even in disorder, there is pattern. The crumbling of cliffs. The weathering of buildings. The peeling of paint. They don't collapse at random. They follow shape. They reveal hidden symmetries. Maybe entropy isn't loss. Maybe it's transition. Maybe it's the universe making space for new forms, new configurations, new beginnings. In deep time, even galaxies succumb. Stars drift apart. Black holes evaporate. The cosmic temperature evens out. Motion stops. But until then, the song continues. Low. Slow. Honest. And we brief, bright, wondering, get to listen, just for a moment. Ghosts of the Big Bang. And while we listen, there's something humming beneath it all. A ghost. Not of something dead, but of something never fully alive. The afterglow of an origin too fast to remember. The Big Bang was not an explosion. It was expansion. A sudden breath outward, faster than light, faster than understanding. A moment when space itself became itself. And yet, that moment left something behind. The cosmic microwave background radiation stretched thin by time. A pale echo of that first unfolding. It isn't bright. It isn't loud. But it's everywhere. A perfect whisper, 13.8 billion years old, wrapping the cosmos like a faded lullaby. Scientists have mapped its texture, found its wrinkles, studied its tiny shifts.
But beneath the data lies something deeper, something emotional.
The idea that we can still feel the warmth of creation. That the universe remembers being born. And maybe we carry that warmth, too. In our atoms. In our awareness. In our urge to trace origins backward, as far as light can go. Because we aren't separate from that beginning. We are that beginning reorganized, reawakened, momentarily aware of itself. And that awareness might be the newest ghost of all. We are fossils of the future. And that awareness, what will become of it? When we are gone, when the lights dim and the last questions go unanswered, what remains? Stone, maybe. Plastic, probably. A chemical signature burned into the atmosphere. A layer in the rock. A fossil. Not of bone or shell, but of impact. Of presence. Of pattern. We are used to digging into the past, finding trilobites, ammonites, feathered dreams pressed into shale. But imagine someone far ahead, digging backward, and finding us. Skyscraper concrete turned to sediment. Titanium implants embedded in fossilized bone. A perfect circle of radioactivity where once stood a reactor. We don't like to think of ourselves as ancient. But one day, we will be. And maybe, we are already becoming memory. Techno-fossils. Anthropogenic strata. Earth's crust will tell our story, whether we want it to or not. And who will read it? Perhaps no one. Perhaps Earth will spin in silence. Or perhaps, someone will find us. Not to mourn. Not to study. Just to remember. And in that remembering, we will live again. Not in minds or myths, but in stone. The library under the crust. And in stone, the planet speaks. Not in words. Not in sound. But in layers. Beneath the soil, beneath the roots, beneath even the oldest bones, there is a library. A record of tides and fire. Of rise and collapse. Of life. Every continent carries chapters. Every mountain is a bookmark. Every fossilized fern, a footnote. Geology is not just science. It is memory. Pressed into strata. Crystallized by time. We drill cores and read them like scrolls. Each inch a century. Each color a season. Each mineral, a whisper. Ice cores from Antarctica hold air from millennia past, trapped bubbles singing of climates long vanished. Ocean sediments remember extinction pulses. Cave deposits track rainfall from empires that rose and fell. And Earth forgets slowly. Yes, erosion wears pages away. Yes, subduction swallows chapters whole. But something always remains. A signature. A clue. A mark. Could it be that Earth doesn't just record life, but responds to it? That tectonics are not random, but rhythmic? That deep time has a heartbeat? Maybe geology isn't passive. Maybe it listens. Maybe the crust itself is the skin of memory. And beneath it, the story continues. The cradle beneath our feet. Beneath the forests, below the oceans, under the streets where we live our days, Earth holds layers of memory far deeper than history.
Each stratum, a story written not in ink but in pressure and patience.
What if every step we take is upon the ashes of a world we'll never know?
A rainforest turned to stone, a civilization lost without a name, a silence that stretched for millions of years.
We think of the ground as solid, but it breathes, shifts, remembers.
In fault lines in folded stone, earth whispers the slow syllables of time's passing. And yet, memory without a mouth cannot tell us who we once were.
Not all fossils are bone. Some may be thoughts. Echoes of choices made long ago that ripple outward through soil, through sea, through species. Could an ancient dream be preserved in the migration of birds, or in the spiral of a seashell? Could consciousness, once born, leave residue behind? We consider neurons and chemistry. But what if awareness lingers like smoke, staining the air of a world that once held wonder? Are we picking up the traces of minds older than ours, now blurred by wind and wave? And if thoughts can fossilize, how many have we already mistaken for our own? The drift of forgotten worlds. Continents don't stand still. They drift, collide, subduct, disappear. Pangea split. Gondwana fell away. Entire mountain ranges crumbled into sea. But if the land forgets its own shape, what does that mean for memory?
Somewhere under the Indian Ocean lie the shattered stones of lands we barely have names for, lost coastlines, sunken forests, civilizations erased not by war, but by plate tectonics.
Do we walk atop the ruins of stories that never had a chance to be told? And if so, how many times has this world had to begin again? Perhaps forgetting is the price of becoming something new. Entropy wears a gentle face. Entropy isn't destruction. It's diffusion. A soft unraveling. A return to quiet. Heat disperses. Structure weakens. Complexity relaxes into simplicity. And yet, within this decline, a strange beauty takes shape. A sandcastle washed away leaves a memory more tender than the sculpture itself. A tree decaying in a forest becomes a home for countless lives. What if entropy isn't the enemy of meaning, but its final breath? What if the slow unmaking of things is how the universe clears space to remember? Not as a monument, but as a sigh. Sky burials of the planet. In some cultures, the dead are returned to the sky. Left for the birds. Exposed to wind and weather. Earth, too, performs its own sky burials.
When a volcano erupts, when an asteroid strikes, when dust rises from deserts, particles of this world return to the upper winds.
High above, in the stratosphere, ashes drift like ancient confetti. They fall into oceans, into lungs, into ice. Could those grains carry stories? Could a single flake of volcanic ash, buried in polar snow, be the last trace of a vanished people? And if so, what stories have already melted and been lost?
The sound of slow thunder.
Not all thunder is heard.
Some moves beneath the crust in deep rumbles too low for ears to catch, too vast to be recorded in seconds.
Subduction zones groan. Ice sheets sigh.
The mantle shifts with a sound like memory turning over in sleep.
Scientists call them slow earthquakes. But what if they're deeper than that? What if they are the planet dreaming? A kind of tectonic thought, old and patient, playing out over centuries. What if the earth hums its own lullaby? And what if we've only ever caught the chorus? Underscore 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 underscore. Cracks in the constant. We call them constants: gravity, light speed, the charge of the electron. Unchanging. Eternal. But what if they aren't? Some physicists have wondered if the universe's rules are slowly drifting, like stars or continents or languages. Could gravity have been stronger once? Could light have moved faster? If so, what else could shift? Our laws of physics, built on rock, might be written in sand. Stable, for now. But deep beneath certainty, cracks begin to form. And if the laws themselves are shifting, what else might we need to relearn? The cradle beneath our feet. Beneath every step we take lies something older than imagination. The ground beneath us is not just soil and stone, it is memory, layered and silent, stretching back into forgotten chapters of Earth's slow and tireless story. Under city streets, under the quiet roots of forests, under desert plains and ocean shelves, the crust holds remnants of long-lost worlds. Some we've unearthed, an ammonite in a cliff face, a tool in volcanic ash. But most remain cradled in secrecy, untouched and unseen. The layers of rock are not random. They are sequenced like chapters, marked by pressure and time, each one pressed into place by ages that moved without witnesses. A single centimeter of sediment might hold 1,000 years of quiet. In every layer, something slept, a leaf that turned to stone, a tooth that outlasted its body, a memory hardened by heat and time. But these memories are not arranged for us. They are not left behind like messages. They drifted down and were buried, like ashes from a world that didn't know it was burning. And yet, the ground remembers. In the pattern of faults. In the color of clay. In the way certain minerals gather or resist change. These are Earth's lullabies, songs we haven't learned to hear. We often imagine memory as something human, but what if it isn't? What if memory is simply what remains when something tries not to be forgotten? What if the planet itself is a body that remembers slowly, through fracture and form? We read stone like a story, but maybe it is more like a dream, broken, incomplete, surreal in its slowness. And still, we live above it all, rarely thinking about the story beneath our shoes. The layers remain, waiting. They do not call out. They do not beg to be seen. They only exist, pressed in silence, shaped by forces we no longer name. And yet, memory without a mouth cannot tell us who we once were. Fossils of thought. Not all fossils are of bone. Some may be thought. Not thought like sentences, or speech, or symbols, but thought like pressure. Like form. Like intention that once existed, and left behind a shape. In ancient coral reefs, we see patterns repeated. Spirals. Ratios. Designs that seem almost aware of themselves. But were they? Or are we looking for ourselves in everything that came before? What if the Earth has been shaped not just by biology, but by awareness? Not our kind. Something quieter. Older. Perhaps the curve of a valley is not only erosion, but echo. The fossil of a movement. The residue of an idea too vast to see all at once. We think of fossils as bones hardened by time. But they can be more. A footprint in volcanic ash. The cast of a tree long since burned away. And if the body can fossilize, why not the mind? Perhaps certain decisions, ways of building, walking, gathering, surviving left impressions in matter. Subtle. Unintentional. Like fingerprints on glass, revealed only by light. Could an ancient dream survive in the migration of birds? In the curve of a shell? In a map of stars carved on stone, long before cities, long before calendars? We call them symbols. We call them myths. But what if they are fossils of thought, of belief, of a different way of knowing? And are we finding them? Or making them up, out of longing? The Earth does not store its thoughts in language. It holds them in form, in rhythm, in patterns repeated across time and distance. We are only beginning to see this, to wonder about the fossils of the mind, the bones of memory. And if thoughts can fossilize, How many have we already mistaken for our own? The drift of forgotten worlds. The earth moves, but not in ways we often notice. Mountains rise like slow breath. Continents drift like ancient rafts. Deep beneath us, tectonic plates shift with the patience of gods. And with every movement, something is lost. Entire landscapes disappear, not suddenly, but softly. A coastline vanishes beneath the sea. A plateau is swallowed by desert. A forest becomes stone, then dust. Long ago, there was a land called Pannotia. Before Pangaea. Before the names we learn in school. It gathered and broke apart before even the first fish appeared. Its pieces still exist, but scattered, worn down, buried beneath newer stories. We imagine history in human terms. But Earth's history moves in silence, in collapse, in erasure. Civilizations may rise and fall, but land itself forgets more deeply. When two continents meet, one slides beneath the other. Subduction, they call it. The lower one melts into the mantle. Whatever was on it, forests, fossils, stories, structures, is unmade. Not destroyed violently, but dissolved completely. What civilizations might have lived before the crust we now stand on even formed? What voices may have spoken before the languages we know had breath? We have no evidence. But that may be the point. Plate tectonics is not a gentle archivist. It is a recycler. It replaces the page over and over again. And so, the earth forgets. But not out of cruelty. It forgets because it must continue. To hold new life, it lets go of the old. Perhaps forgetting is how Earth makes space for dreaming. Entropy wears a gentle face. We think of entropy as loss, as decline, as the fraying of structure, the surrender of order. But entropy is not chaos, it is the soft settling of all things into rest. The hot grows cold. The loud becomes quiet. The complicated slowly unwinds. In this way, entropy is not destruction. It is peace. It is stillness returning. A candle does not rage as it goes out. It flickers. It softens. It gives its final light with grace. On Earth, entropy wears many faces. A fallen tree that feeds 1,000 lives. A coral reef that becomes limestone. The dust of cities caught in layers of ice. Nothing lasts in its original form. And yet, nothing vanishes completely. Entropy teaches us that everything we build will decay, but also that this decay is a kind of continuation. A way of feeding what comes next. The house becomes ruins. The ruins become shelter. The shelter becomes soil. The soil holds seeds. Even the most permanent structures, cathedrals, highways, machines, will someday crumble. Steel will rust. Concrete will crack. Circuits will turn to sand. This is not failure. It is release. The letting go of what no longer serves. And maybe, just maybe, this quiet ending is a form of beauty. Not in spite of its impermanence, but because of it. What if the universe isn't built to last forever, but to be meaningful while it does? Sky burials of the planet. Some cultures offer their dead to the sky. High on mountain cliffs, where wind and vulture watch alike, the body becomes part of the air. Not burned. Not buried. Just given back. Earth performs a similar ritual, though we rarely notice. Volcanoes erupt. Forests burn. Deserts lift dust into the stratosphere. And with each exhale, the planet casts parts of itself upward into wind currents, into clouds, into light. A single ash particle might float for years before falling. It may drift from a Chilean volcano to an Arctic glacier, from an African desert to the Amazon basin.
These particles are more than dirt.
They are stories.
A fleck of soot from a forest that no longer stands.
A grain of sand that once lay beneath a city.
A shard of rock from a world before language. When we study ice cores, we find these sky burials preserved, layers of dust and ash, telling us where the planet has wept, where it has burned, where it has whispered its grief into the sky.
And maybe, without knowing, we have breathed in these fragments. Inhaled the ghosts of ancient trees. Let the atoms of lost worlds settle in our lungs. Sky doesn't forget. It just redistributes.
And the air we breathe tonight may carry the memory of something the earth once chose to let go. The sound of slow thunder.
Some thunder is heard, some thunder is not.
Beneath our feet, where mountains grind and tectonic plates shift, there is a deep rumble, slow and persistent, a thunder too low for ears, too vast for moments.
These are slow earthquakes, lasting minutes or even days, a language of movement written in silence.
The earth groans and sighs in rhythms we barely understand.
Is this the planet dreaming? A slow heartbeat pulsing beneath the surface, echoing deep time?
These subterranean murmurs connect continents and whispered conversations, secrets carried beneath the crust, reminding us that Earth is alive, patient, mysterious, and slow.
And as the slow thunder fades into silence, we wonder what else the planet hides beneath its quiet skin. Cracks in the constant. We imagine the universe built on constants, gravity, the speed of light, the charge of an electron, unchanging truths that hold everything steady. But what if those constants are not fixed? What if, like the shifting of continents or the fading of stars, the very rules we trust are slowly bending? Some physicists suggest gravity might have been stronger in the distant past, or light may have once traveled faster. If these cosmic laws can drift, even slightly, what does that mean for us? Could time itself be more fluid than we imagine? Could the bedrock of reality hold tiny cracks, quietly spreading, whispering change? And if so, what other truths might we need to relearn as we look deeper into the universe's slow transformation, riding the edge of certainty and doubt? Planets remember. Planets are not static stones. They remember. Not like humans do, with minds and stories, but with scars and layers and atmospheres written by time. Every impact crater, every shifting fault, every ancient ocean buried beneath ice tells a story. Some planets have violent histories, bombarded by asteroids, scorched by stars, flooded by seas. Others keep quiet, their memories folded deep inside. Earth, too, carries this layered record. Through isotope trails and sediment shifts, we read a planetary diary. Could planets hold the memory of life lost? Could their climates, their very surfaces, bear witness to civilizations that rose and fell long before ours? Maybe planets are more than rock and gas, they are keepers of forgotten histories, silent archives waiting to be uncovered. Shadows of extinction. Extinctions are not endings, they are shifts, abrupt changes in the endless flow of life's river. 5 great extinctions scar Earth's deep past, each one wiping clean vast swaths of species, altering the course of evolution. But extinction is also silence, the quiet pause after a world lets go. What does it mean to lose almost everything? Fossils tell us stories of these times, shells and bones buried beneath layers of ash or mud, echoes of life suddenly stilled. Could extinction be the planet's way of clearing its memory banks? And yet, after silence comes renewal. New life sprouts in places once barren. Could the shadows of extinction hold wisdom about resilience, about cycles we have yet to? Could the shadows of extinction hold wisdom about resilience, about cycles we have yet to understand? We live in the wake of one great extinction, the one we call Anthropocene, where the echoes of loss still ripple through air and ocean. The breath of forgotten epochs. Long before humans walked, Earth breathed in epochs long, slow breaths of ice and warmth, growth and decay. Ice ages pressed glaciers like soft blankets over continents. Warm periods filled seas with life and expansion. These breaths are recorded in the air itself, trapped in ice cores, in sediment layers, in fossils. The atmosphere is a memory bank, holding traces of ancient fires, volcanic storms, and changing winds. The breath of forgotten epochs is quiet but persistent, a slow rhythm beneath the noise of today. Could this breath guide us? Could it remind us of cycles older than us, lessons written in cold and heat? As we exhale now, releasing carbon into the sky, do we join a long chain of breaths, one that stretches back beyond knowing, into the deep, slow pulse of Earth's own time? The whisper of technofossils. What if the future could find us, not in stories, but in stone?
Our age leaves marks not just in memories, but in metals, plastics, and remnants of machines long after we are gone.
These technofossils, fragments of technology fossilized in layers of Earth, are silent messages, a record of what once was. They may be the artifacts of civilizations built on circuits and code, a future archaeologist's puzzle. Could these remnants outlast us all? What tales might they tell about who we were, and what we became? Our legacy may not be monuments or words, but the very dust we scatter etched forever in the slow pages of geology. Gardens beneath the ice. Beneath frozen landscapes, life pulses quietly, gardens hidden in ice and rock. Microbes thrive in darkness, feeding on minerals deep below glaciers and ancient permafrost.
These hidden gardens speak of resilience, of life's refusal to yield even in silence and cold. They are relics of epochs past, but also hints of worlds still alive beneath barren surfaces. Could these tiny ecosystems be windows into Earth's past climates, or even clues to life's potential beyond our planet? In their slow metabolism and whispered growth, they remind us that life's memory is not always grand, it can be quiet, patient, and waiting beneath layers we rarely see. Underscore 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 underscore. Time folded in stone. Stone is the book of time, folded, creased, and layered in ways that resist simple reading. In the twist of a rock fold, in the ripple of a sediment, entire epochs are compressed, merged, and folded into themselves. Time becomes less a straight line and more a fabric, worn and weathered by pressure and heat. We try to unravel it to decipher layers and dates, but some secrets remain stubbornly folded, hidden in deep crumples beneath mountains or deep ocean trenches. What if time itself is not constant but malleable? Could the stories in stone be rewritten, or lost to the folds forever? In this slow dance of pressure and form, the earth keeps its mysteries close. The memory of light. Light travels fast, but it carries memory. Photons born in stars long dead still arrive at our eyes, whispering tales of creation and loss. Light is a messenger, carrying echoes of distant galaxies, of cosmic events beyond imagining. It paints the sky with ancient histories, and yet we only glimpse fragments. The memory of light is fragile, it fades with distance, but never quite disappears. It connects us to the universe's beginnings and its endless unfolding. Could light itself hold answers to the mysteries we seek? Could the star's faint glow be the universe's way of remembering itself, softly, endlessly? Forgotten languages of the earth. The earth speaks, but not in words we hear. It speaks in fractures, in mineral veins, in patterns of erosion and growth. These are languages of time, forgotten, ancient, and vast. Every canyon carved by water, every crack in stone, every fossilized root is a letter in this silent script. Geologists are its translators, but the language resists full understanding. It is always incomplete, always shifting, like a poem whose meaning changes with each reading. Could this language tell us who we are? Or where we are going? In listening to Earth's whispers, we might find not answers, but invitations to wonder, to wait, and to remember what it means to be part of this slow, unfolding story.
Forgotten languages of the Earth. Word count 890.
The Earth speaks, but not in words we hear. It speaks in fractures, in mineral veins, in patterns of erosion and growth.
These are languages of time, forgotten, ancient, and vast.
Every canyon carved by water, every crack in stone, every fossilized root is a letter in this silent script.
Geologists are its translators, but the language resists full understanding.
It is always incomplete, always shifting, like a poem whose meaning changes with each reading.
Could this language tell us who we are? Or where we are going?
In listening to Earth's whispers, we might find not answers, but invitations to wonder, to wait, and to remember what it means to be part of this slow, unfolding story.
Underscore 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 underscore. The slow collapse of time. Time is not a river rushing forward but a slow, deliberate folding and unfolding. Some moments stretch endlessly, others vanish in a blink. Deep time moves in ways our minds struggle to grasp.
The oldest rocks on Earth, billions of years old, hold stories so vast we can only trace shadows of them.
And yet, time itself may be collapsing, folding back onto itself in ways we have yet to understand. Is the past ever truly past? Or does it linger beneath our feet, beneath the skies, woven into the fabric of the universe? Could time itself be a loop, a spiral, or something stranger, an echo we are just beginning to hear? Underscore 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 underscore. Glowing Star Chapter 34, The Universe's Quiet Questions. Word count 900. The universe does not answer loudly. It offers whispers, quiet questions drifting through space and time. What are we but fleeting observers, glimpsing shadows on a vast cosmic wall?
The mysteries of dark matter, the origins of consciousness, the fate of stars, all these are questions wrapped in silence.
We reach, we hypothesize, but the universe holds its cards close. Perhaps it's not meant to be understood fully.
Maybe the beauty lies in the questions themselves, in the patient, gentle wonder of seeking without needing final answers.
In this quiet, there is space to dream, to imagine, to belong. Everything we don't know. In the vastness around us and within us, there is more unknown than known, more mystery than certainty. We build maps and stories, we name stars and measure atoms, but the universe always stretches beyond, deeper and wider than any grasp. To live with this is to embrace humility, to rest in the silence between questions, to find peace in not knowing.
Maybe the greatest gift is this space of not knowing, the place where curiosity lives, where wonder grows, where the journey continues without end.
As we close this chapter, we carry forward the echo of all that remains unseen, a soft invitation to keep listening, keep dreaming, keep wandering in the cosmic night.